Hey everyone, how's it going tonight? Happy Friday. Hope you guys are doing well. And hey Mohit, how's it going? Thanks for joining in at the very start of the stream. We got a lot to talk about tonight. And basically, there was so much stuff that has happened in the world of tech and games between the last, gosh, what is it? The last week or so here. And so it's kind of nutty in that regard. Hey, Fun with Ella, how's it going? Hopefully you guys are having a good Friday evening, getting the weekend started. And I'll give it a couple more seconds here, let a few more to join in. But basically, what I wanted to do is kind of recap some of the tech news, but then also talk with you guys and also ask you some questions because, as I mentioned, there was a ton of stuff that took place this past week. And we'll jump into that in a minute. Give me a second here. I just want to check something really quickly on my mobile phone here, or on my iPhone, which, by the way, is actually going to be a point of discussion at some point in this live stream tonight. I do want to talk a little bit about Apple in the midst of all of the other stuff that we're going to chat about here tonight. So give me just a quick sec. All right, well, let's jump straight into it. So one of the things that maybe you guys do know or you don't know is most of the videos that I film with on this channel is with the camera that I'm actually live streaming with right now. And this happens to be the Sony A7C. And I'm not a huge like photo guy, so I can't really dig into all the specs of these cameras and kind of talk about it and all that stuff. But when I looked at the A7C, it's a crop sensor, but it's a really good camera, both for live streaming as well as for video work. And that's what I was looking for. And I'm going to get to your comment, Mohit, because that's exactly some of the things I want to talk about tonight. But yeah, I went with the A7C. But what's really interesting, and we're going to jump straight into this right now. Let me cut on over to a web browsing window. Sony announced a new camera, and this is the A7C. So I don't know if you guys caught this or not from Sony, but it's $17.99 US, and that's for a body only, and it's a full frame camera. So I've pulled up a couple of different pages here, and you can kind of see the images here. It looks really similar to the size of the A7C that I use. And this is just an article here on The Verge. The main difference I would say that I do like about this camera is this screen. It's very similar to the Sony ZV-1, which is a really, really small camera. As a matter of fact, let me show you something. I knock everything down. And if you've been watching the channel, this is no doubt something that you've seen here. I'll come back to the webpage in a minute here. This is the ZV-1. And it's super small. It's got a smaller battery in it. But if you notice, one of the things about this camera is it has a flip out screen. And so you can flip it out and tilt it and do all of that. So it's really good for, being able to see yourself when you film. And, they aim it towards vloggers. I like this because it kind of is utilized as almost a B cam to this camera. So if I need to do any like, I don't know, on the go shots, if I'm going to shoot outside, sometimes it's a lot easier for me to shoot with this than it is with the A7C. And so I'll use that. But for people who are just now looking into things and saying, okay, what do I want to buy? this might be a consideration, right? So this is the new A7C. It's a little bit more expensive than the A6600, but you can actually get other models a step down from the 6600 for a much affordable price. And I haven't actually looked at this article yet, so we're going to do this together. But this is the camera that I'm streaming with right now, and my lens that I'm using on it is a Sigma 1.6. What is it called? I told you I'm not a huge photo guy, but it's a Sigma 1.6 inch, or not inch. It's a 1.6. I think aperture is what it is. I'm not real good at knowing those numbers. But you can see the difference between these two. So in my mind, I'm looking at this going, well, this is really a full frame camera versus a crop sensor. But if you're in the market for it, I mean, it looks like the big differences here are the sensor size. So both have a 24.2 megapixel, but the size is different. Of course, you've got a crop on the one I'm using here versus full frame on the A7C. You've got what looks to be a very similar autofocus system here. So 693 phase detection points and 425 contrast detection points that cover 93% of the sensor area versus on the 6600. We're looking at 425 phase and contrast detection points that cover 84% of the frame. Continuous shooting speed, a small difference. The A7C can shoot a maximum of 10 frames per second, which is ever so slightly slower than the 11 on the 6600. Of course, the monitors are different. So there's mine, right? And you can see it flips up. And that's not necessarily a problem until you want to put like an external microphone on top of the camera, then it gets in the way. So you have to use a rig like this. So that's something to consider versus the flip out screen that I just showed you that kind of goes out like this. So viewfinders, they both have a viewfinder, it looks like, and then the button layouts are going to be probably a little bit different, and there's a better size comparison. So the full frame is going to be ever so slightly bigger. SD card speed, it looks like, as well. They look the same, maybe. Oh, no, there's two differences, it says. The A7C has a dedicated compartment for it on the side, whereas on the 6600, yep, you plug it in from the bottom where the battery goes. And the A7C is only compatible with UHS 2 cards, which have a faster writing speed, and the A6600 takes UHS 1 cards only. The battery is the same, which I will say that is a major difference between that Sony ZV-1 that I just showed you and this one. This battery life will go for a long time. We're talking like a full day pretty much, whereas the ZV-1 will last maybe a couple hours at best. So you're going to have to swap those out. Lenses, they share the same mount, so you can use the same lenses, but of course, because that other one's a full frame, it gives you full frame, right? And then the A6600, oh, they must have come down in price because it looks like the body can be found for about $1,200 now versus the A7C, which is $1,800. So, I mean, I'm very happy with my crop sensor. This is a fantastic camera, but nonetheless, I wanted to share it with you guys because I know sometimes viewers will be like, what camera do you use? What do you recommend, et cetera, et cetera. And so I always like to throw out the latest and greatest because why not? It's always an option. But I've been very happy with my A6600. So that's that. We're going to go right to Apple, and then we're going to start talking about all the gaming stuff because oh man, there is a lot to talk about with gaming. Are you even interested in Apple? And if so, did you watch the Apple event that took place this past week, and what did you think? I kind of had a feeling they weren't going to show the iPhone. I thought they might, but I think that's going to be now, obviously, it's going to be delayed by at least a couple of weeks. What is interesting, I mean, there was plenty to talk about. Of course, they've got a new fitness kind of program that they're rolling out, which I actually find pretty interesting. Especially considering that in a way, it goes up against like the features of like the Peloton bikes and stuff like that. But the big things here, and I'm not going to spend a ton of time on Apple, to be honest with you. The big things here are the new Apple Watch, which we see right here, which is really pretty cool. I mean, it's got a pulse oximeter in it, as you're seeing them demoing right here, that tells you your blood oxygen levels. And then it's got, take an ECG anywhere, anytime, and all of these things, right? Of course, from a pricing perspective, if we click and look into that, this is what we're talking about. And this stuff is available as of today. So, I mean, you can get, it looks like $449 for the blue aluminum case with a braided solo loop, and $479 for a 44 millimeter, $449 for 40. I've got a Series 3 Apple Watch, but I got to be honest with you. Ever since I've been playing around with this right here, which is the Pixel 4a, when the Pixel 5 comes out, which is going to be announced at the end of this month, I don't know. I mean, I'm not so tied to Apple anymore, and I'm purposely holding off on getting a new Apple Watch. My Series 3 works fine. I love the functionality of the fitness tracking. I actually have an air bike that I use for all of my fitness, and so I use the cycling app on here, and it's fantastic. But I don't know that I would pick up a new Apple Watch, Mohit, it says, I have a Fitbit and an Android phone, but the new Apple Watches make me want to get an iPhone. See, that's the problem, right? I mean, if we consider it a problem, right? And that's, I don't think there's any denying that from a smartwatch perspective, Apple Watch is kind of the go-to. It's the gold standard. I mean, it's the best thing going today, in my opinion. I would love to see something that comes close, because trust me, I would love to make a switch to something else to get off of iPhones and switch over to Android for a while. But yeah, they're crushing it on the iPhone. Oh man, thanks Mohit. I appreciate that. Thank you so much for the $4.99 donation. I really, really appreciate that. That's awesome. And thank you. So yeah, they're crushing it on Apple Watches. And I got to tell you, that will be the hardest thing for me, is to figure out, can I make that switch away from that? So then the other thing that, of course, and then we'll move on to gaming here, is the iPads, which I haven't had an iPad in who knows how long. Hey, my my overlay is working. That's rad. So I'm seeing the overlays. Sorry to be sporadic here, but I'm dialing in all of the different features on my overlays. So that was pretty cool to see that work. Hey Santiago, how's it going? Hope you're having a good evening. We're just talking a little bit about Apple before we get into all the gaming goodness. But yeah, the iPad stuff that I was talking about, I found it very compelling, really, really cool. And maybe, just maybe, it's something that I would look at picking up at around Christmas time or something like that, because this right here, I mean, of course, we heard about the other, the entry-level iPads, which look fantastic as well. But the iPad Airs, my goodness, these are almost on par. I mean, from a look perspective, from your screen, they really do look like an iPad Pro. And they've got that, as you see here, the Liquid Retina display. It's a 10.9-inch screen. Of course, I believe these are coming out here in October. And it really looks fantastic. It really does. And it's using the A14 Bionic chip. As you see here, you can use the Apple Pencil. You can use the Magic Keyboard. Comes in silver, space gray, rose gold. My wife will love that one. Green, which is really interesting. And sky blue, which if I'm going to pick one up, I don't know, that looks pretty cool. So, oh, sweet. You're getting an iPad Air in rose gold for your grandma during Christmas. Right on. That is awesome. That is awesome. It's good to see them bring those rose gold colors back too, because That's one of the things in the Apple Watch is we had rose gold there in this series. I want to say, what was it? Series 2? Or maybe it was series 1. And then they took it away. So it would be nice to see if it would come back. Hey, do you know they made a TV that's flat like paper? I heard something about that. Was that that was an Apple though, was it? I think it wasn't it like a foldable LCD panel by Samsung or something? Kind of crazy. So we've got sky blue here, and that looks really interesting to me. And it's just really, really cool. So this is one that maybe will be on a Christmas list. I don't know. We'll have to see. We'll have to see what happens there. But Mohit, so are you going to be picking up an iPad Air for yourself too, or just for your grandma during Christmas? So, of course, we heard about other things as well. But for me, looking at this, I really like the iPads. They look really kind of cool. And as I was saying before, if I didn't finish my thought, I haven't had an iPad in who knows how long. I kind of, the last one I got was, I want to say it was the original iPad Air. It may have been the second gen iPad Air. And I handed it down to my wife, and the poor thing is so slow. It's so incredibly slow. I have an iPad Pro, so I'll skip these iPads. Yeah, iPad Pros are nice. I like how it has the speakers all the way around it. That seems like a really nice function. All right. Gaming. Let's talk about gaming, right? This is what, the main portion of this stream is about. I wanted to talk to you guys about it. And we're going to talk a little bit about Oculus, Sony, and then, of course, Microsoft with their Xbox. And I mean, man, if you think about it, for 1 week, in a span of a week, that was a lot of gaming news. And not just like little stuff, major gaming news, all in the span of a week. And it starts with the Quest 2, the Oculus Quest 2. And if you guys were, had tuned in before and watched some of my other videos, if I kind of ranked my excitement level between the three, I think what I had said is Oculus Quest was at the top for me, followed by Xbox, followed by PlayStation. And in a way, I still kind of feel the same way. Mohit, I want to get a VR headset and a good dinosaur game to go with it, but I'm not sure where to start. Well, I will tell you this. I have played the original Oculus Quest, or I have the original Oculus Quest, and I also have the PlayStation VR. I had the PlayStation VR before my Oculus Quest. After I got my Quest, it made it so hard to go back to the PlayStation VR. And here's the reason why, is because the Oculus Quest is standalone. No computers required. It's small, it's portable. You can bring it with you wherever. I mean, the case that it fits in, it's like this big. It can fit in a small backpack or something. So you can bring it with you wherever you go. And the biggest thing for me was the fact that there are no wires. And what that allows you to do with the Quest, and also the Quest 2, which we'll talk about here in a minute, is you can walk around. If you have the space, you can walk around the room or wherever you've got your headset on, instead of using the stick controls to move around. And that bumps up the layer of immersion. The Quest does have some a dinosaur game on it. I haven't tried it, and I'd have to look up the name to tell you what it is. Depending on the type of dinosaur game that you're looking for, I believe it's later this year, and we'll take a look at it possibly in a second here. They do have a Jurassic Park coming out. Now, that might be kind of scary. I don't know. I don't know if it's going to be Jurassic Park like, hey, look at all the dinosaurs, cool, or if it's going to be Jurassic Park like, you've got velociraptors and Tyrannosaurus Rex coming after you. So I'm not 100% sure on that just yet. I haven't really looked too much into that. But if you look at the Quest 2, and let's talk about pricing just for a moment here. If you've never done VR before, if you're not opposed to Facebook, and I have to throw that out there because a lot of people will look at the Oculus Quest and they'll say, I'm out because it's Facebook. And you know, you do have to create a Facebook account to use the Quest 2, and you have to link it. So that may be a turnoff for some. If it's not for you, if it's not a turnoff for you, I think this is a really good way to go because it starts at $299 for a 64 gig model. You can bump up to a 256 gig model for $100 more at $399. And my recommendation on this is if you can afford it, go $100 more and get that 256 gig model for $399. And the logic behind that is this Quest, as you'll see right here, it's using a better processor, an XR2 platform. It's got more RAM. It's got a new display that has higher pixel resolution, almost 2K per eye. So overall, it's almost a 4K resolution, and it will support up to 90 hertz. So what this means is that the newer games that are potentially going to come out for this may take more storage space. And if you don't want to, it doesn't have a micro SD card capability. So that's the one downside. I was crossing my fingers, really hoping that when they announced this, it would have the ability to put an external card in it. So it doesn't. So that's why I say go with the larger if you can. Now, my original Quest, the max that was available at the time when it was available was 128 gigs. I've not reached the storage capacity on it yet. And so I think with 256, you'd be in good shape. And because it's all digital, if you ever do hit that storage limitation, you can always uninstall and just kind of reinstall things. So it's all tied to your Facebook/Oculus account. And games, you know, there's plenty of things that are free, but then there's also things that are going to cost you, and it'll run you anywhere between, you know, $5 on up to the full cost of a normal game, like 50, right? I find on average, most games are going to run you about 15 to 20 bucks, depending on what it is. And we'll talk about the Quest 2 here in a minute, but what I like about it is it's not just about games. So it makes VR accessible for everyone. And again, if you can get past the Facebook piece of it, let's talk about PlayStation VR for a brief moment, and let's talk about PC VR. Are those better solutions from a graphical and a fidelity perspective? By all means, yes. But you would need to pick up all of the things to make that work. So for example, on PC, you've got to get a PC that supports VR, that has enough power to run it. And then depending on which VR headset you get, you have to have cameras that are stationed or sensors around your room, unless you get one that has it built into the headset. And then you've got the wires. PlayStation VR, they've got a breakout box. And again, you've got all the cables, and you have to purchase a PlayStation, either the PlayStation Pro or the new PlayStation 5, which we'll get to that in a minute. So I think if you're just getting into it and you want to really kind of dip into VR for the first time, I think Quest is the way to go. Let's see. Would it make sense to get a used one for a headset? I think, you know, it depends, right? It depends on which headset you're looking at and how much you can pick one up for. I mean, in my mind, if I was going to pick up a used Oculus Quest headset, if I can get a new one for $399 and a, let's say 64 gig for $299, I probably wouldn't want to pay over $150 for a prior gen Oculus headset. And then I would very much want to make sure that you have the ability, if you can, to look at that headset before you purchase it. Because one of the things about at least the Oculus headset, as well as the PlayStation VR headset, is the lenses on the inside. If you wear glasses and you're not careful when you put on your VR headset, if you don't put in, let's say on the Oculus, there's a glasses spacer. If you don't put that in, your lenses can scratch those, your glasses lenses and frame can scratch the lenses on the Oculus headset. And so that can create what appears to be smudge lines, or as they call it, enhanced God rays in the images. And basically what that is you'll see, if you've ever looked up at the sky and you see the clouds and you see kind of the rays coming down from the sun, and it looks absolutely gorgeous. That's essentially a God ray. And so you can get that. So I wear glasses, so this is a huge deal for me. Yeah. The Quest will work, as will the PlayStation VR. I don't have any hands-on experience with PC VR, so I would imagine it'd be very similar. They'll work with glasses for sure. But you just want to be careful if you pick up a used one that somebody who had it before really babied it, because I'd hate for you to pick up a used one and run into an issue there. The other thing to consider about picking up used, at least with the Oculus, is it has a built-in battery. So, of course, with built-in batteries, over time they deplete and their charging capability gets less. Now, because the original Quest has only been out for, a year and a half, I believe, we should be at a place where battery shouldn't be too much of an issue. But it is something to consider. So hopefully that answered your question, Mohit. But yeah, this is the Quest 2, and I'm super excited about it. I think that if you walked into a store and you saw the Quest 1 side by side with the Quest 2, don't even doubt yourself. Go with the Quest 2. I mean, this looks fantastic. And there's a lot of YouTube influencers who have actually picked this up already. They got it sent to them by Facebook, and there's some unboxings as well as side-by-side comparisons, so you can check that out online. But the other thing about VR that's nice that I may not have talked about here is it's not just about games. So while everybody initially might think it's all about games, you can watch movies in VR. You can go on to YouTube and watch YouTube in VR. So if it's, let's say, for example, you had an Oculus headset and you put it on to watch this video today, it wouldn't be VR in the sense that you could look around and, it wouldn't look like you're in my room. What it would look like is you were in a giant movie theater. So you would see me, but it would look like a big IMAX screen in front of you. So it's like you have this massive screen in front of you. And even for more immersion, you plug headset in, earbuds, headphones, and it makes it even that much better. However, with that being said, there are plenty of YouTubers online that film 360 videos. And I'm a huge Disney fan, and what I do usually on not every weekend, but a lot of weekends, I'll pull up those 4K videos of Disneyland rides, and I'll tell you, some of them are incredible to be able to put on the VR headset and just sit there in your chair, and it's like you're on the ride at Disneyland, and you can look all the way around, behind you, up, down, everywhere, and it's pretty fantastic. There's National Geographic experiences where you can go inside the pyramids in Egypt and see that. So it's not just about games, but it's also about the experiences. And you'll see these are some of the things that are coming soon. We've got the Climb 2. There's the Jurassic World Aftermath that I was talking about. So now that looks scary. So depending on what kind of dinosaur game you're looking for, this may not be what you want. But I do know there are some other dinosaur games on the Quest. I'd have to get back to you and see what those games are. And then there's, of course, some Star Wars games as well. especially one that I'm very much looking forward to on the Quest called Tales from Galaxy's Edge. And it's based off of Galaxy's Edge at Disney World and Disneyland. It's got C-3PO in it, R2-D2, all of them. So it looks pretty awesome. And yeah, you'll notice here that on Oculus's page, if you try to pre-order there, the 256 gig is out of stock, but you can still get the 64. But if you're in the US and you go to Best Buy, and I'll show you this in a little bit, they still have them available for pre-order. So really, really exciting. And that comes out October 13th. So let's see, I'm torn between getting the Oculus and the Xbox Series X at this point. That's a hard decision because they're so different, right? I would find, and I think it would be fair to say that between the two, depending upon what games you get, I think it's fair to say you'd probably spend more time playing on your Xbox than you would on the Oculus because you can sit down at a console like the PS5 here. You can sit down at a console like the Xbox Series X, and you can spend hours on it. You can pull an all-nighter on it and just play through a game, right? Whereas with the VR headset, you're more than likely going to do it in bursts. Not because of necessarily a battery, because you can plug in a cable to remedy that, but just because of fatigue. After a while, eye fatigue, depending on what you're playing, just overall fatigue can set in. And for some people, thankfully, I'm not one of them, but for some people, they also can get motion sickness from VR. So it's something to consider. And I will mention there is one other thing before we move on to PlayStation. And I'm going to show you on Best Buy's website real quick. I'm just going to type in Oculus Quest right there on the front too. So you'll see they still have them both available for release day on October 13th. But what I want to show you is if there's one thing I don't like about the Quest, it's the current strap. It's like this fabric strap that all the YouTubers who have already tried it says it's not very good. So they make an aftermarket strap. It's an official strap. You can get it here for $49. Or if you've got the money, you can get this one right here that is called the Quest 2 Elite Strap. It has a built-in battery, so it extends the battery life of your Quest. It also comes with the case right here that you'll see. And then, of course, the strap itself, which looks like this, which is really nice. It's a much better headset, and it's a much better fit versus what comes defaulted with the Quest. So I would say if you are really going to look at it for ultimate comfort, if you can go with it, check out that strap for about $129. I get both, but I don't want to waste too much money. Yeah, fair enough. This stuff all adds up, and it seems like all at the same time. We're getting the intro by Oculus, followed by the PS5, followed by the Xbox One Series X, as well as S. So that leads me to my next question here. PS5, how many of you got a pre-order in for it? Let me know in the chat. That was a bit of a fiasco, I would say. So, of course, the PlayStation 5 was announced as far as price and release date. It's matching price at $499, and release date is coming out on November 12th. And here's what happened. They showed some of the games, and I'm going to get to this in a second. They showed some of the games, and then they said nothing about when the pre-orders would open up. And then I think Walmart was the first one to open up pre-orders here in the U.S., followed by, I think it was Best Buy. No, it was Walmart, then it was Target, and then it was Best Buy. And I was attempting to order it on Best Buy, and for 2 hours, I had one in my cart, and I was trying to check out, but the website for Best Buy was getting so slammed that it wouldn't allow me to check out. Ultimately, it removed it from the cart. I guess they had sold out. So that was a big mess. A lot of people had the same experience. And ultimately what ended up happening is later that evening, Amazon opened up pre-orders, and I was lucky enough to get a pre-order in for one. However, as of today, I got this email, which it is what it is. I'm not too bothered by it. And it seems like a lot of people got this same email that said exactly this. We're contacting you about your order of the PlayStation 5, although I didn't get the digital edition, so it referenced the other one. And it said the same thing. To let you know in advance, you may not receive this item on the day it's released due to high demand. But we'll make every effort to get it to you as soon as possible once released. So it seems to me that anyone who ordered from Amazon got this email as a way for Amazon to cover their bases in case they're unable to deliver on release date. There were a lot of rumors going around that there were some serious supply constraints when it came to the PlayStation 5, and that Sony did something where they were paying an increased amount of money to, I think it was, get units flown over, whereas opposed usually they're boated over. And they were doing this to try to get more product over here to support launch. And so I think what's happening here, there's nothing that supports this theory, but I think what's happening here, at least with the PlayStation launch, is that the retailers were given some general guidance about how many pre-orders they should open up, but they weren't given hard numbers stating what their allocations were. And so I think that's what Amazon's doing, is saying, we may not be able to serve all of you at launch. And so, you know, we'll see where it goes. We'll see what happens. Your cousin did. He paid $6.30 Canadian for it. Do you know where your cousin ordered from? I'd love to hear how that experience went, because over here, it was a mess. And the interesting thing about the PS5, let's open this up, is you'll see now Best Buy says coming soon. A lot of PlayStation 5 games cost more now. So most of our games were $59, and you're going to find that there is a $10 PlayStation 5 tax now, USD, at about $69 for some of these games, which is interesting. So Godfall, well, that's interesting. Okay, so this, I wonder if this is new news, because unless I've missed something, and we're kind of reading this for the same time, I didn't believe that Godfall was necessarily going to be a launch day title. And previously when I looked on Best Buy, it wasn't even listed as such, but it looks like now they have Godfall listed here, at least on Best Buy, as a release day title, which is really interesting. I wonder if that is accurate. I may have missed something. And I think this is a Sony exclusive title, if I recall. I might be wrong on that. I'm going to have to double check. Interesting. Not sure where he ordered from. No worries. Just kind of curious. So you'll see all the titles here that are available. That's a new one. That wasn't on here before for release day for Godfall. And we've got all the titles here. And then, of course, you can order things like your charging stations and all of those other things. So that's PlayStation. What took me aback is the amount of people. Yeah, you're right, Antonio. The controller does cost the same as the games now, $69. And here's the bummer. Oh, if you don't know this, here's the bummer, is that your old controllers are not going to work. So your DualShock 4 controllers, or if you're like me and you have one of these, hold on. So for my PlayStation, last year I picked up the Astro C40 controller. This guy. It's not a cheap controller, but it's absolutely fantastic. I've had to replace these sticks a couple of times now, which is kind of a drag. But the bad news is this controller will not work for PlayStation 5 games. So, and that's a bummer. You can only use right now until third parties create their own PS5 controllers. You can only use that new DualSense controller on PS5 games. You will be able to use the DualShock and that controller that I just showed you on some PS4 games running on a PS5. That's why I held off on getting an Xbox controller, needed one, but didn't want to spend the $70 for a few months. Yeah, good call. Real good call on that. But as I was mentioning, what took me aback on this is when I was looking on social as everybody was getting their orders in, I was really surprised that most people went for the digital only version of the PlayStation first. So it seemed like most people wanted to buy the PlayStation 5 right up here that does not include a disk drive. And for me, I don't know, maybe I'm old school, but I always want to get the system that has the disk drive because I don't know if you're going to see it, but right back there, that's a stack of GameCube games. And years from now, if I want to pull out my storage of my old PS5 games in years from now, I can play them. But if it's digital only, that may not be the case. And of course, with the disc version, you can pick up used games for cheaper. There are more sales on games, hard copies, than there are on digital games, which I find interesting. So I don't know. Let me know you guys, all of your thoughts in the chat here. Are you more inclined to buy a system that has a drive built in, or do you prefer to go all digital? I'd be curious to hear your thoughts in chat. So then that brings us to what happens next week, which has me very, very nervous. But I'll share it with you guys, and it is this one. And, you know, I've got my pre-order in for the Oculus and the PlayStation, but to me, aside from the Oculus, as much as I love PlayStation, this is what I really want the most. I've always been an Xbox guy for whatever reason. I still love my PlayStation. I still mainly play Destiny on the PlayStation, even though it's coming to Xbox Game Pass. And I love all the features that Xbox is giving us with Game Pass and all of that. I love the fact that you can have, if you haven't checked it out already, on my channel here, look at my most recent video where I use this phone. It's the Pixel 4a to play Xbox games on it through what they call Project xCloud. To be able to be wherever you are and just stream a game like Sea of Thieves or Halo to this mobile device or any Android device or tablet is pretty incredible. And the experience was flawless. But this is coming up. So the Xbox Series S on the left, the white one, the Xbox Series X on the right, the bigger one here that many people compare to a refrigerator, those release on November 10th, and pre-orders open this Tuesday, September 22nd. So if you come to Xbox's page, they have the listing for all of the regions and when those are going live and where. So you can see all of the initial listings of places that are going to have it available for pre-order at 8 a.m., in my case, Pacific. And I'm just crossing my fingers that they have a much better supply chain and that things are going to work out a lot better in this scenario as opposed to the Sony scenario where, as we all know, websites were crashing, the pre-orders came up, and then next thing you know, boom, they're gone. I really want to get an Xbox Series X, and so I'm crossing my fingers that this pre-order process is a lot better than the PlayStation 5 one. So set your calendars, set your alarm clocks, because it's coming Tuesday, 8 a.m. Pacific. Come here and take a look at the other regions to understand where yours is going to be if you're outside of the U.S. And let me know, let me know if you guys get one. If you're picking up an Xbox, which one are you going to get? Are you going to get the S or the X? I see Antonio says I would get all digital, but I don't want to sacrifice the power in the Xbox scenario. Though, it's not so much power. I don't know if it's resolution, right? So apparently the chipsets are the same in the X and the S. And the major difference here is that the Xbox Series S will only be capable of 1440p resolutions, whereas the X can go all the way up to the 4K, or even, I don't know if they can do 8K. But I saw the side-by-side comparison, and that appears to be the big difference here, at least on paper. Now, as time goes by, you're right, we don't know if there's some hidden power that can be unlocked in the X that doesn't exist on that S side. But when they first announced the S, I thought that was a perfect console for streamers because it's small. And you can just set it on your desk right next to your PC and go digital and do all your game streaming from it. I think that would be a fantastic option for the game streamer, especially since I kind of feel like most people's monitors these days are 1440p monitors. I know that's what I've got in front of me. I don't use 4K monitors. So I kind of feel like that X is more for playing on your big screen. The S is for monitor gaming maybe, but I don't know. You guys going to pre-order one? Let me know in the chat. That'll be something that I am really hopeful goes smooth. All right. So last thing I just want to mention to you guys is I'm going to try to keep up with these live streams. Of course, we're going to do videos and we're going to do all that stuff on the channel. Usually during the week, I like to post videos. I'll let you know. I'm going to be gaming this weekend. I think a lot of people are. Super Mario 3D All-Stars. Recent release here on the Nintendo Switch that has Mario 64, Super Mario Sunshine, and Super Mario Galaxy. It also includes some soundtracks on this card as well. Last weekend, I actually streamed Mario Sunshine, but not on the Switch. It was my old GameCube copy, so I'm curious to see how upgraded this is in graphics, but I'm also very excited to play Super Mario Galaxy and go back to Mario 64 again here. One of the videos you're going to see on the channel in the upcoming week here is also this. The Genki Covert dock. This is that really, really small Nintendo Switch dock. I'll just pull it out of the box and give you guys a real quick peek at this. I've been playing around with it here for a while, and I popped it back in the box because I don't think I'm going to use it this weekend, although I might again. We'll see. And I'll let you know, it's been working fantastic. I just don't know that I would use this as my go-to every single day unless I'm traveling. But in place of a Nintendo Switch dock, if you are traveling, this is a fantastic option because look how small it is. And these prongs just pop out, and it does come with adapters for other regions. You plug it into the wall, and then basically your Switch plugs into that port right there. The HDMI comes out and plugs into your monitor, your TV. Of course, you have to have a long cable to make sure that your Switch will go into this. I am terrified of third-party docks too. However, this one, the company has basically worked within the Nintendo power standards to ensure that this does not brick or fry any of the circuitry like it did with some of the early docks that had come out. So that's something that they have been very adamant about. It's somewhere on the box here. I'll cover it in my review when I film it this week and get it out there. But they did work with Nintendo to work within their power guidelines to make sure that doesn't happen. But it's, I hear you, because I echo that sentiment. So, but yeah, I'll have videos throughout the course of the week. Weekends, I'm going to try to do, if I can, at least one live stream on the YouTube channel every weekend, more like this kind of thing where we talk about, what happened in the week, and other topics as well. And then I may do some gaming here on YouTube, but I wanted to call your attention to my Twitch channel. I haven't really done a whole heck of a lot with it, but if you want to see me play games online, sometimes I'll be in the corner. Sometimes I may just be playing them with the mic off, so you just sit back and watch, a game or something. If maybe you're bored or you have nothing else to do and you want to tune in, you can head to twitch.tv/metagamers and you can follow me there. And I'll be posting some gameplay there. So I'm probably going to do some gameplay on my Twitch channel this weekend. I don't have a set schedule just yet. As you can see, it's really rough. I don't really have an overlay here, so it looks really bad and generic, but that'll change in due time. So yeah, that's about it. Let's get away from the web view here. And it's been fun. I like chatting with you guys, and this is what I like to do. It's cool to make videos. It's cool to do all of that stuff. But I really kind of get a kick out of talking to all you guys and engaging with you. So, and the live streams, I find it makes it that more engaging, because instead of just responding to comments that you guys might leave on video, it's pretty cool to be able to see it in near real time here. So more of these to come. Again, Mohit, I want to thank you for that super chat that you chimed in earlier. It definitely helps, and I certainly appreciate that. I do thank all of you for spending a little bit of your time with me tonight. I hope you have a fantastic weekend ahead. And if you want to see some gaming this weekend, head on over to twitch.tv/metagamers. Give me a follow, and it'll notify you when I go live. I'll probably go live on there at least a couple of times this weekend. Maybe a little bit of Mario, maybe a little bit of something else. We'll see. So hope you all have a good evening and a great weekend, and we'll talk soon. Take care. Thanks, everyone.